So it's good to see you all again. I'm Natasha and welcome back. So today we're going to continue. Oh, actually we're not continuing with the same chapter. We're actually starting a new chapter, which is 6th chapter, linear inequalities. Linear inequalities. So what is this chapter about? So actually I've already give you a brief information about those linear inequalities, right? So what I told you was that so what do we usually have? So simply we have an equation, right? So let's first try to understand this concept, this whole thing, and after then we'll move on to this topic, inside this chapter. Got it? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first thing, what I told you was that, let's say we have an equation, okay? What is an equation? What is an equation? We all know, we're equation where, between two numbers. Okay, I'm not saying any numbers, but there is an equal to sign between any numbers, let's say, okay? So if I'm going to say that, okay, let's say this exactly in a simple way, okay? Let's say this LHS is equal to RHS, got it? So what is it saying? That whatever our left hand side is, it is equal to the right hand side. If I'm going to say that, the value of x, let me say this, okay? The value of x is 2, got it? An equation is given to us that it is saying that is 2x is equal to 4. So is it true? Putting on the value of x, okay, the value of x is already given to us here, which is 2, okay? So putting on the value of x, which is 2, so 2 into 2, 4. And as we can see that 4 is equal to 4. So RHS is equal to, LHS is equal to RHS. That's what we can see, right? Okay, so what I want to say is that, this equal to sign. Oh, this is not equal to sign. This is equal to sign, okay? Yeah, so this equal to sign is what we call as the equation, right? And I can even call it in the way of linear equality, okay? Let's just say this. So, linear equality and this linear inequality is just right opposite to this. So what I told you, in the previous video, in the last video, that, in linear inequalities, some few symbols are used except this equal to sign, as those equations are not equal, okay? So they're like inequalities, okay? And as the linear. Got it? So let's try to understand this clearly. Okay, so let me just write a small and a simple definition related to this chapter, related to, this linear inequalities. Okay, so I'm going to say into two real numbers or two algebraic expressions, okay? So these two real numbers or these two algebraic expressions related by the symbol less than, greater than, less than or, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, okay? Some few symbols, what we'll say that they form an inequality, okay? So they form an inequality, okay? So let me write this. So two real numbers, okay, looks like the marker is light. Okay, I will change it. Yeah. So what I was saying is that, two real numbers oh, okay. Okay, or whatever, just never mind, Two real numbers or two algebraic expressions related by the symbol less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to form an inequality. Okay, so that's what I exactly said, right? Okay, if it's clear, then let's move on to its next topic. Okay, so what I'm saying, I can take some few examples like 3 is less than 5. I'm using this symbol, this symbol, right? As 3 is less than 5. Or I can say 4x is greater than x, okay? 4x is greater than x. Okay, so what I'm saying that, except using, instead of using those equal to signs, what do we use here is less than, equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, okay? So this is what we call, the inequality, linear inequalities, okay? Okay, so linear inequalities has, of course, some types. So, it has some types based on sign, on the symbols, but basically we have two types, which is numeral inequalities and literal inequalities, okay? So let's discuss about these two inequalities, and after that we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, so let me tell you first of all that these two topics are really easy to understand, and I hope you're just already familiar with this thing. This numeral inequality. This numeral inequality is just related to these numericals, right? I'm not talking about those questions. I'm talking about the numbers. Okay, the numbers. Okay, so what you can say that we can say maybe equality is related to something related to the numbers. At least we can guess it a little bit. Okay, we're just guessing, but we'll be of course discussing it. And about literal inequalities, that maybe a little confusing, or maybe a little hard to guess, but whatever we have already guessed, whatever we're getting in our mind, hearing this thing, numeral inequalities, literal inequalities. Okay, so let me write it here. Okay, so we have two types, which is numeral inequalities, or which I was saying as the numericals. Okay, numerical related to the numbers, numeral numbers, numericals. All these related to one thing, which I've already said, the numbers. Okay, so it is numerical inequalities. Okay, let's say numerical inequalities. Okay. This numeral is a little confusing, and I actually said it wrong. So, it's not numeral, it's numerical. Okay? It's numerical. Well, numerals just relate. Okay, let me just say this simple, and let me make this clear. There's numeral and numerical. There's no difference between these. Numerals related to the numbers. So, both of these words are, just pointing to only one word, which is number, nothing else, right? So, we don't need to think about it too much. So, let's get back to this topic. two types, numerical and literal. Okay, so first, okay, why isn't it working? Okay, I'll just write it again. Yeah, so it is numerical inequality. T's or T, whatever you want to say. Okay, so what's the numerical inequalities? So inequalities, which don't involve variables. Inequalities which don't involve variables are called numerical inequalities. So what I'm saying is, is really clear to you, right? So those inequalities which don't involve variables like x, y, z, a, b, c, d, whatever. These are variables, right? We already know about this. So, I won't be talking about these things. So, let's just get straight here. Yeah, so those numericals, the inequalities. I don't know what's the problem with these markers, but seriously, they're not working. Yeah, so inequalities which don't involve variables are called numerical inequalities. So it's a really short definition and I hope everyone's clear with it. So let's take some few examples and then we'll move on to the second type. And this topic's like really easy peasy, right? Okay, so let's move on to the example. Okay, so numerical related to the numbers, like those inequalities which don't involve variables, okay? So, what I can say is that, I even gave an example like this, 3 is less than 5, which means 5 is greater than 3 and 3 is less than 5. Or we can even say 7 is greater than 6, isn't it? Okay. Is it clear? If it is, then let's move on. I can take maybe some other examples too. Let's take example okay, let's say 5 is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, one thing that this really doesn't matter, Okay, what I've written in the first example was that, these things are actually true. That 3 is actually less than 5. It can't be greater than 5. But in these inequalities, numbers do not really make sense. Okay? So what I'm saying is that, what we can see here is that 5 is greater than or equal to 2. 5 can be equal to 2. Yeah, in maybe some few senses, but so what I can say is that not exactly it's going to be true, but it can be like this way. If I can say that 3x is greater than y, there may be something that, which is why we're saying this. That's basically just to show, they're just examples to show these inequalities and so that we can be clear with it, okay? So all that matters is that these all inequalities do not involve variables, and that's what we have to focus on. Got it? If it's clear, then let's move on. Okay, now the second one, which is the literal inequalities. And I hope now you will be able to guess it, what does these literal inequalities mean? So inequalities which involve variables are called literal inequalities, okay? Literal inequalities. Okay, so inequalities which involve variables are called literal inequalities. Example. Okay, let me change the marker. Yeah. So for example, let's say x is greater than 3. Okay, x is greater than 3. Or maybe I can even say that y is less than or equal to 5. I can even say that x minus y is greater than or equal to 0. X minus y is greater than or equal to 0. So what I can see here is that these inequalities involve variables, and that's what we have to see, have to focus on. Okay? So I hope you are clear with these two types. Now let's move on to the types based on the sign. Sign, I mean the symbols, okay? Okay, so let me just show, clean this all, and then we'll continue. Okay. Or should I just... Okay, I think it's just a small topic, so I don't think there's a need to... Oh, yeah, I'm saying that there's a need to clean this all off. Okay? Okay, so I'll just manage it here, okay? So the types... based on the sign, the symbols, okay? First is strict inequalities. Strict inequalities. Okay, you maybe be able to guess, what is the strict inequality? Strict is, something which is strict, fixed, right? It can't be changed. I can say it in this way, right? So inequalities involving the symbol greater than or less than are called the strict inequalities, So inequalities involving symbols wait a second. Yeah, so I was saying that inequalities involving the symbol less than or greater than are called strict inequalities. So which means strict inequalities, it simply means that those inequalities which are just fixed. This means, if I'm going to say that 3 is less than 5, which means that it is and it So if I really use this symbol, what does it mean? It means that 3 is less than 5 in any condition, okay? Because I've used the strict inequality here, okay? Yeah, I mean the symbol, right? So, what I will say that 3 is less than 5. It can't be greater than, it can be greater than, 5. So what I'm saying, 3 is not greater than 5, okay? Okay, as I've used a strict, I can say that it's a strict inequality, okay? That's what I can say. So, for example, you can even take this example, but I'm going to take a different one. Okay, and the second one I want to tell you is slack inequalities. Slack inequalities, okay. Slack inequalities. But before moving on to slack inequalities, let's write some examples. 3x minus y plus 5 is, okay, not again. Yeah. So what I was saying is 3x minus y greater than 5. Okay. Let's take another example. Okay, so one thing that these inequalities, really doesn't matter. These inequalities don't focus on the variables. They just focus on the symbols, okay? The sign. That's it. They don't really focus on the variables, doesn't matter if that inequality is having variables or not, What I can see here is that one is a variable here and second one is here a number, Okay, let's take another example. Let's say that x is less than 3, okay? X is less than 3. Okay, is it clear? If yes, then let's move on to the second one. Slack inequality. Slack inequalities. Okay, so which two symbols are left? Less than or greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to? That's what is left, right? Okay, so slack inequality. Slack means, like not sure about something. Okay, what we can say here. Okay, so so slack inequalities are, those inequalities which involve symbols. So inequalities involving the symbol or the sign, whatever I can say. The symbol less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Okay? Is this clear? If yes, then let's write this, then let's write its example too. Okay, so let me say the example. Okay, can I say this x is greater than or equal to 3? I can say this. I for sure can. Okay? Okay, so why don't we take the same example, but just, what I'll be doing here is that I'll be putting the symbols, these symbols, okay? So let's say 3x minus y greater than or equal to 5. X is less than or equal to 3. Okay, is this clear? If yes, then that's all for today. I think that's enough for today. We discussed about the types of inequalities, and we'll soon move on to the solution of an inequality, like how do we solve inequalities, okay? That's all for today, and I hope these, whatever we've discussed today was clear to you. Okay, so, and one thing to focus, one thing to remember is, that if I can write this, that 5 is greater than or equal to 2, which means that it's a slack inequality because this 5 can be equal to 2 or this 5 will be less than 2. So we have two conditions, right? But in this inequality, only one option is left, that it is just less than 5. Okay, so that's what these inequalities mean. So thanks for watching and have a great day.